All right, let's jump into a pretty wild thought experiment. Imagine, just for a second, you could design a life completely from scratch. And I don't mean just any life. I'm talking about a perfect one, engineered from the very beginning to the very end, all to fulfill one super specific, kind of strange desire. So, let me ask you this. Could you actually plan a perfect life? Like if you had unlimited resources, total control over everything, could you really architect a whole existence? A life where you knew every single outcome before it even started? And we're not just talking about the big stuff, the major life events. We are talking about blueprinting every single moment, down to the very last detail. Every meal, every interaction, all of it perfectly engineered to hit one single goal. And here's the twist. This isn't about achieving human fame or becoming a billionaire. The goal is, well, it's to experience the super-structured, competitive, and ultimately triumphant life of a champion show dog. Yeah, you heard that right.
Okay, so who on earth would want something like that? Well, the protagonist of our little story here isn't exactly human. Let's dive in and meet the being at the center of this and figure out where this very unique wish actually comes from.
So to wrap our heads around this, we kind of have to stretch our minds a bit beyond our normal reality. Our main character is what's called a 5D being. Think of it as a consciousness that exists beyond our familiar 3 dimensions of space and the 1 dimension of time. So imagine being able to look at a life, not like a movie, one scene after another, but as a complete sculpture that you can walk around and see all at once. That's the kind of mind-bending perspective we're talking about here. Now, this desire to be a show dog, it's not just some random whim. It's more like a flicker, right? A tiny memory, a single data point buried deep in its soul from a life it once lived, right here on Earth. It's like an echo of an old feeling that it now wants to experience again, but this time, perfectly.
Okay, but a wish is one thing. Actually engineering it into reality, that's a whole other ballgame. So how does this being take that faint memory and turn it into a real, living, breathing experience? Well, that brings us to the blueprint.
The whole process is super methodical. It's almost like a divine project plan, really. First, you've got research and selection. Then, you plan out every single detail. After that, you program the simulation. And finally, the last step, you enter it and live it.
And just look at the level of detail we're talking about here. It's just obsessive. It's not just, oh, let's pick a poodle. No, this is about completely reverse engineering a champion. Every single variable is controlled. From researching every dog breed to picking a specific bloodline, planning the breeding, detailing the training, programming the exact diet. I mean, nothing is left to chance. The entire universe of this dog's life is designed for one single outcome: best in breed.
And get this isn't a solo mission. Our being gets a team of planners involved. You can kind of think of them as cosmic software engineers, right? They take this perfect blueprint and then they program it into a totally detailed, immersive simulation.
And this is a really important point. This simulation is not about random chance. Not at all. It's a curated experience. Every dial is turned for maximum pleasure and minimal pain. Sure, there have to be some challenges. Struggle makes the victory feel sweeter. But the end result is never, ever in doubt. The whole system is basically rigged for a perfect, triumphant win.
So, the blueprint is done. The program is running. Now comes the biggest part of the whole journey. The 5D being has to stop being the overseer and become the participant.
And this is the key transformation, right? In its base reality, its normal existence, the being is the overseer. Its goal is pretty abstract. It just wants to feel satisfied. But the second it enters the simulation, bam, it becomes the participant. And the goal isn't abstract anymore. It's visceral, it's immediate, win best in breed. What was just a plan becomes a real, lived, felt life.
And this whole experience has a very clear endpoint. It's not a forever thing. Once the goal is achieved, once that deep feeling of satisfaction washes over it, the being just logs out. It returns to its base reality. Mission accomplished.
All right, so let's pull back for a second. What's the point of all this? I mean, why would anyone do this? What is this strange little thought experiment really trying to get at?
When you boil it all down, it's a story about a higher consciousness using some really advanced technology just to fulfill a very specific, very terrestrial desire. It's about scratching an itch, A longing to relive something physical, something real, something rooted in an old memory of what it was like to be here on Earth.
You know, maybe the easiest way to think about it is, it's the ultimate, fully immersive, pre-programmed video game. But it's a game that you live from the inside. You design it yourself, you guarantee the win, and you don't play with the controller. You actually are the character, feeling every single moment.
So that really leaves us with one big question to think about. If you could simulate one perfect experience, if you had this power to design and live out one flawless, curated life from start to finish, what would it be?